Hello, friends, and welcome to an episode of the 110th episode of Snap Judgments. As almost always, I'm Roy Rogers, and joining me today is my friend and yours, the one, the only, the top... What was your rank?
I finished at 88.
88! The 88th best player of the month of December for Marvel Snap. The one, the only, my friend and yours, Aaron Glazer. Aaron, my friend, how are you in this new year? Happy New Year again, because I think this is actually the second episode we've recorded in the new year, but time is weird this time of year. So, how are you? How are things? And congratulations on your high placement on the definitely super meaningful Infinite Leaderboard.
If I lived in China, I would have gotten an award for my high placement. Also, it was 89th, not 88th. How you doing? Things are going pretty well around here. Second dinner has given me no new news, so I've just settled into a nice routine of regularly scheduled streams and regularly scheduled videos without anything being on fire. So that's pretty cool.
Well, in your neck in the woods, things aren't on fire. So much
Poor
love
choice of words, all things
support
considered.
to our friends
really,
and
Jesus.
loved ones in Los Angeles. Here in the United States, there's a very tragic fire going on. So much love out to folks in SoCal.
Indeed.
All right, Glazer, who is joining us this week to discuss this newsless news week in the world of Marvel Snap?
We've got two special guests to talk about new cards. We are joined by the one and only the king of Staten Island. He kicked out the other guy, Pete Davidson, no more. And then he left himself because it was Staten Island and no one should be there. It is the great ParryManilow. Hi, Parry.
I came, I saw, I conquered, and then I got the hell out of there. How are you doing, Glazer,
decision.
Roy, Nick? Good to see everybody out there in Streamland as well. Nice to be back on the pod.
A pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Parry, how could our friends find you?
I am ParryManilow across all platforms. You will most likely find me on Twitch, especially Monday evenings around 6 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/ParryManilow, where I host my interactive game show, Marvel Snap Bingo. If you haven't played it, you should come by and play. It's a lot of fun.
I've never played it, but I watch it all the time. Does that count? Like,
Yeah.
I'm there. It's just I don't want to win things.
That's fine.
Yeah. It's really
entertaining.
Fun. Yeah.
Even if you're not playing, it's a good time. People argue with me over the validity of the spaces all the time. That's always entertaining. And oftentimes I will forget what I'm doing because there's a lot going on. And that usually results in some funny moments. So check it out.
We can once more barely hear Parry. I'm not entirely sure why.
I'm sorry.
You sound really good on our end, but yeah.
For the podcast, which I guess are we acknowledging now for
that we are recording this live and people could watch us record this live on Twitch. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Glazer, since you're doing that real quick, I'm sorry, before we let Nick do his socials, where can people, if they want to follow you taking over the sort of
Twitchosphere?
the Twitch sphere, the streaming space, where could they find you?
Pulse Glazer on Twitch. I also stream usually on YouTube, but I'm not putting the podcast on YouTube because the podcast already goes on YouTube.
All right. Go back to introducing our amazing guest, Nick.
We are also joined by the longest content creator name in Marvel Snap, someone who clearly did not understand or get the memo when he was told to brand. It is NickdaGreekGeek, who I thought forever's name was Nick the Geek, the Greek. Literally for like 3 or 4 weeks. I was like, no, it's Nick the Greek. And eventually I read it properly. I was like, oh. Hi, Nick. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, other than being very sick. So I apologize for the sexy Phoebe Friends voice. So I'll try and mute myself if I hack up a lung or anything of that sort. But I'm happy to be here. I had plans on being able to come on to the next podcast and be like, guess what? I'm going to be streaming regularly. I've got a plan set up. I had a whole plan and then I got sick and it has kicked my butt. But I do plan on streaming more this year. I plan on streaming at least once a week and actually have a schedule, which I'm excited for.
What's the schedule going to be?
Okay, don't ask me that question. Listen,
all right.
Listen.
When there is a schedule, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitch, Blue Sky, the hellscape known as Twitter. at NickdaGreekGeek. I'm also on Discord in pretty much all the Discords that everybody else is a part of. So please feel free to find me there, yell at me, make fun of me. I don't care what. Just interact with me. I'm happy for anything.
Oh,
Love me, please.
He's a puppy. I'm a puppy. He's always
got a
taking the
cute one.
dogs out.
It's true.
Mr. Rogers.
All right. So, friends, if you would like to engage with us on social media, you can engage with us at SnapJudgeCast on Twitter. We are still on the site that is Elon Musk's single-lettered website, formerly known as Twitter. I'm going to do this each and every week until Glazer updates this. Aaron, we are also on the other place, Blue Sky, Freer Skies. What is the Blue Sky handle that you have?
Snap Judge Glazer. I've definitely been using Blue Sky, and you should go find me there where I use Blue Sky.
Awesome. If you want to use the snail mail of the internet, our email is snapjudgmentspodcast@gmail.com. And we are proud each and every week to be the official podcasting partner of Marvel Snap Zone. Marvel Snap Zone is the best place for you to get your information about Marvel Snap. Do you want to know if the news is actually having a slow week? The place to find is apparently not Glazer's streams, not Glazer's YouTube, but Marvel Snap Zone. So make sure you check them out. Many of our lovely friends work over there and write for them. Dan, Lauren, many other people. We're incredibly grateful each and every week to be the official podcasting partner of Marvel Snap Zone. But the last and most important of our socials is our YouTube, where you're probably listening to this right now. Our YouTube is at Snap Judgments Pod, where 6 out of the 7 days a week, Glazer gives you snap takes. Glazer, if our loyal listeners were to become loyal viewers of our YouTube, what would they find if they tuned in right now?
I hit infinite, and I went 19-2 in the 90s. So that deck will be a video that's yesterday/tomorrow.
Oh, that's
very
exciting.
In fairness, I cheated.
Okay. Wow, win trading already. You're in the
leaderboard
for 1 month, and you're already win trading.
I had Sizer on a call with me, and Derek in chat, and they were both just like, "Do that," and I was like, "I was going to," and they were like, "No, do that," and I was like, "All right, sure," and then I just never fucking lost. Turns out they're really good.
They are really good. That's content, of course. One more time, Glazer. Where can our loyal listeners and loyal viewers catch you on the regular streaming?
I am at twitch.tv/PulseGlazer, as well as generally outside of the podcast, which you can find exclusively on Twitch and then a couple days later on YouTube, on YouTube streaming too.
Exciting,
but there's only music on Twitch, so you should be on Twitch.
Yeah.
Good music too.
Last thing, just a quick reminder, we are also on Patreon, our patreon.com/snapjudgments. Really important because I like to say the Patreon is a reverse pyramid scheme, because even though Glazer is taking the streaming world by storm, his bank account when it comes to giving to the community is still very much in the red. And the way in which he can justify that to his beautiful wife and wonderful small child is through your support on the Patreon. So if you would like Glazer to continue the awesome content he's making, the streams, the YouTube videos, the tournaments in the Discord, all these things that he and Gunny T and the rest of the crew over in the Snap Judgments League Discord are able to do, all of that is made possible by the Patreon. So make sure you become one of those, a low $2 tier, and you get some awesome benefits. So you could gift them now, too. So they make a great, I forgot to give you a Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever present. And there you go. So, boom. Done. Let's talk about new cards. Starting with the January 6th release card of Iron Patriot. So to celebrate January 6th, I am stealing this joke, by the way, from Canvas. So like I'm gonna put a footnote. It was a great joke. I'm just gonna say. Definitely got me to click on that video. So anyway, Iron Patriot is a season pass card. 2/3 will eventually be 6K tokens next month, but for now you can get him through the season pass with your hard-earned direct cash. And what do you get for your 2 energy and 3 strength? You get an on reveal. Add a random 4, 5, or 6 cost card to your hand. If you're winning here, after next turn, give it -4 cost. Nick, what do you think about? I had so many jokes that I'm just not going to say. About Iron Patriot, which I assume is the Norman Osborn version of Iron Patriot, considering this is the Thunderbolts month. So
there you go. I think he's a very good card. I think it's very frustrating that even if you Red Guardian him and the other card hasn't revealed, it does not do anything and they still get the discount, which I was disappointed to discover the hard way. I think he can provide some really good play, even if it's a dud card. Like I got a 0/6 thing. That's still a 0/6 thing. And at this point, nobody's running Mobius. So, you know, it's hard to say no to it. And most of those decks have stuff like either Negasonic or Juggernaut to win that lane, or Hydra Bob that you can toss in there as well. There's enough stuff in there to almost guarantee you win that lane. The problem is, one of the things that I've noticed is the more people that are playing that card, you're also in a situation to where they may have chosen a different lane. So you're now trying to figure out, okay, do I try and compete with their lane and prevent them from getting it? Or do I try and win my lane? So the more it's played, I think the more it's going to be a bit complicated. I don't know if it's overpowered, probably a little bit. But season pass cards usually are, especially when they launch. And I don't know. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. I'd rather be a little bit overpowered than underpowered.
And I think Second Dinner would agree with you there, Nick. That has typically been their release strategy when it comes to season pass cards. Before I talk about the usefulness of the card, I just want to point out, and people in my chat have pointed this out as well, possibly the worst nameplate on any card in Marvel Snap so far. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, it's just ugly. It's bad. I don't know what they were thinking. It does not look good. Not at all. So I'm hoping I don't know, they're probably not going to change it, but just thought I'd throw that out there.
What were they thinking?
I don't know.
Like, they're usually so good.
Right.
Iron Patriot doesn't have his own font in the comics, so I think they're trying to go for, like, kind of that font that they've been using in the
Secret
Red Hulk
Invasion?
movie. No, the trailer for Brave New World, like it's the same kind of font that they've been using for that. So I think that's what they're going for.
The font isn't the problem. The fact that it looks like shit is the problem.
It just looks just on a black background, right? Like they stuck it on a black background, and that's a weird choice to make for such a patriotic and wonderful card.
Yeah, but it is a very good card, a lot of fun. I don't agree that it's too strong yet. I think the randomness factor helps keep it in check. There will be plenty of times where you get a totally useless card. But again, even if you get something like a thing, it is still free power. So
exactly,
Juggernaut's best friend for sure, and Juggernaut being more in the meta is fun to an extent. And I think if we start seeing Mobius rise up, people will get a little angry because I don't like that card. I don't like that card at all. But Iron Patriot, good, worth it.
I mean, yeah, he's worth it. He's the best 2-drop in the game and in contention for the best card in the game. Like, so I think, what's her name? Roy's favorite card, Lady Galactus. Galacta is...
Lady Galactus. She is definitely not my favorite card, but you are correct.
That was being facetious. Thank you. Thank you for explaining.
You're very welcome.
So I think that was a level of power that I was comfortable with being one of the best cards in the game. I'm not sure Iron Patriot is. Iron Patriot's a really, really great card for casual play to be extremely powerful, but if you want to be competitive at Marvel Snap, and Gunny sure keeps hinting that we're going to get competitive Marvel Snap, much like China. So it seems like this is a really unhealthy card. This is like Copycat or Arishem, right? Where you don't know what you're playing around. I've lost to a 2-cost Goliath already. I've lost to 8 cubes, friends. I've lost to generated Man-Thing, right? Like things that you just cannot know to play around based on the shell you're playing against, and the cost curve of the game is really, really frustrating. That the card can cost anywhere from 0, 1, 2, 4, 5, or 6 is a pain in the ass. Like you're just trying to, like, the sheer amount of things you have to plan for becomes like unconscionable. It's just impossible to do. And like from a competitive standpoint, I absolutely hate this card. From a theming standpoint, I actually hate this card. It's reasonably fun to play. It's a good casual card, but you know what? So was Arishem at first. How'd people start to feel about Arishem after a little bit? Because that's what's going to happen for Iron Patriot. Get show cells ready. I said there weren't a lot of valves on him, but I was wrong, right? Like, Because at a random, and we can change what number of random cards and give it -4 cost, we can change how much negative cost the card gets. Both of which I think would be reasonable changes. I will be shocked if by March this isn't give -3 cost. It is right now arguably the best card in the game.
Bold claim. I don't know if I entirely agree with that, but the randomness factor, you know, I think it helps balance it out a little bit, but those high rolls are going to be high sometimes.
It's clear, I think, at this point that a lot of the most vocal Marvel Snap players don't like these early Hearthstone-style designs, these kind of cards that are balanced around their randomness. I think it's thematically fitting that the Norman Osborn Iron Patriot is going to cause so much whining by so many Marvel Snap players. Like, I think it's a real thematic victory that they put this sort of like randomness in Northern
Tears of the Libs.
Yes, tears of not just the Libs, tears of everybody. Like it's you know, it fits. It's very Dark Reign to me, like that so many people are going to be cursing Norman Osborn's names, all while he's just doing it in the name of fun, ladies and gentlemen, of this randomness. At the same time, I think this card is a value card, and it's like a mid-range card. And these kind of value cards tend to be really powerful in Snap, these sort of value combination mid-range cards. But at the same time, I think it's inherently balanced because there is a lot of garbage that you get. And I think once the game starts to like center around the fact that Iron Patriot exists, people will be more prepared for sort of like that value. And there are ways to go over the top of this card. And I think it will lose some of its punch, but it will remain defaultly powerful, and people will whine about it in a same way that it's like arishem was just one card, but created multiple cards, right? Mm-hmm. This is just an arishem card that's just one card, right? Like it legitimately is just one card in your person's deck, not utterly changing how you play, but it's gonna have the same kind of energy, and same kind of vibes. And I think as much as a meta might react to it, it is not going to become... People aren't going to end up not fundamentally happy with it after playing against it for a while.
It's also worth noting, and I think that like this is relatively rare, when you get into high infinite, the win rate for this skyrockets. Like shoots up like 5 percentage points. And it's a small sample because it's early in the season, but that shit never happens right now. It's almost always like really, really good pre-infinite, and then it's like a dip, and then it like crawls slowly up. Mm-hmm. And like that this is skyrocketing in high infinite is that means a lot of people are going to continue to deck build with it, right? Because they're winning with it. And if a lot of people continue to deck build with it in high infinite, then that sort of, including this being the season pass card, that gives this a meta prevalence that otherwise wouldn't necessarily be there.
We ready to talk about Norman's partner in crime? Victoria Hand, yet another Nazi card here in the Marvel Snap is releasing. So we got Victoria Hand. She is also a 2/3. All right. She is the ongoing. Your cards that were created in your hand have +2 power. Perry, does this card have obvious synergy with the previous card that we've talked about? Or is it just something that exists on its own?
I think it might have a little bit of synergy with Iron Patriot. Can't scoff at an extra 2 power. The ongoing is nice, so you can play her whenever, and they will all get buffed retroactively, right? The cards can be on the field, and as long as they were generated in your hand, they will get that extra power. So I think that goes pretty well. There's been some creative discard lists with her and Helicarrier and Swarm and stuff like that, so she's definitely on my radar. I haven't grabbed her just yet. I'm waiting for that patch to take effect. I'm rolling the dice here with when they decide to release that patch versus when the new card comes out. But I want to get those extra 2,000 tokens because I know I'm not going to 1-key her. So it'll help lessen the blow a little bit. But I do think she is a little more flexible and just pretty good value overall. Nick?
Yeah, I think she is a strong card. I think the like you were saying, the discard element, especially with the swarms, like a 0/5 is never a bad thing. And the fact that you can play her like a Luke Cage in, say, an Affliction deck, you could play that on turn 6 and go from losing terribly to winning immediately, assuming they don't have, a 2/9 Goliath just sitting in there. She buffs those retroactively. That ongoing effect is really powerful. And I think until people start countering her using stuff like, Rogue or Enchantress, which I still don't think those fit in a lot of the decks right now. There's just not the space and the energy use for them. The problem that I see with her is I was running her in a discard deck without Helicarrier the other day. And the thing that I noticed is if I did not draw Swarm or, something that, because it doesn't work for Scorn, it doesn't work for Apocalypse, at least not that I can remember.
It doesn't.
It does very little. Like she's like
thing.
wasted. Yeah, exactly. The thing you want to destroy, it can power that up. But I think she's limited unless you are running a Helicarrier build. I think it becomes a lot more difficult unless you're pulling cards in from them. So in discard, I think it's very limited on how it works. And outside of that, you're not getting any value if you toss her into an arishem deck. You're only getting value if you pull, cards from them, or if you because I can't remember. Was she confirmed to work with Cable?
He does not, I believe.
No, it's a stolen card.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you've got Agent 13. You've got a very small group of cards that can provide you things that will get buffed. So I think her limitations could be a problem for her in the long run. And I don't know. I think she's good, but I wouldn't recommend someone just drop 6K. She does work with Moon Girl. That is right, Boombot. She does work with Moon Girl. And I think I haven't seen any of the double up She-Hulk style decks, which I'm surprised about.
Tomorrow yesterday's video, Lufku, baby.
Yep, Lufku put one out.
Go.
So, yeah. So, I don't think she's great. So I'm going to leave that hanging. I don't think she's great, but I love her. She's a new archetype. She's super fun.
Yeah.
She makes games different in a way that doesn't feel completely silly, like Iron Patriot, right? Like when I went with Iron Patriot, it feels like I did something that was fundamentally unfair. When I went with Victoria Hands, it feels like I played Cerebro or Blue Marble.
Mm-hmm.
She makes her best friend, which wasn't mentioned, is Kate Bishop. She and Kate Bishop go amazingly together. And props to Second Dinner for putting them in the spotlights together. Because I really love the low to the ground Victoria Hand, Kate Bishop, Agent Coulson stuff. You can run that with Wiccan, you can run that without Wiccan. That's the deck I ended up hitting Infinite with. I just think she's really, really fun, really well designed, and really well balanced. And they don't always hit all of those things. So, it's also Victoria Hand, and then the cards that were created in your hand. I mean, come on. They were like, this is on the nose. We got it. And it ended up it just works. It just works. I don't think this is tier 1. I would be a little surprised if this was ever a tier 1 strategy.
Yeah.
But
I don't think that's a bad thing.
I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing. I think it's just, I don't know if I have an opinion whether it's good or bad, but they seem to be releasing one card a season lately that sort of creates an archetype. Last season it was Doom 2099. I used to know what it was the season before. I had this whole thing in my head, but it's gone now because I'm old. But they seem to be releasing one card a season that is just and now you have another deck to play. And now you have another deck to play, which I think is a really cool decision.
Wasn't it Agent Venom, by the way?
What?
Wasn't it Agent Venom the previous season? Was because it was in symbiotes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and sometimes the season pass. Yeah, they've been. I think they're doing a really good job with cards like this. I'm very happy that she exists. And I think she's a card that you can compete with, even if she's not the most competitive. And that's a really good place for a new archetype to be.
Yeah.
All right.
No objections there. I think perfectly fine card. Yeah, if you happen to roll for her when you need Kate Bishop or Grandmaster, you're not upset. Okay, this is a playable card.
Mm-hmm. And is this the first time in a very long time that they've actually put cards that synergize well together? It feels like it's been forever because it just feels like a mishmash the last few months.
Bruce Banner. I know you don't like
which
it,
card?
but it's true.
No.
It came with High Evolutionary and Ravonna. It 100% came with shit and synergize. This
okay,
card was bad. Doesn't
fair.
mean it didn't.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
So have they ever put a good synergistic card in the last, I don't even know how long at this point?
I don't know. I'd have to look back. I'm trying to figure out how to open that on my phone while we chat. Roy?
So I had two sort of points here. I think, well, it's more like 1 point. I think this would have been a good card to release at 4K tokens.
Yep.
Like, I think, I think because it sort of feels like this kind of like Mobius style card, right? Where, it's a good build around. It's sort of like this like interesting card that also has a lot of synergy with series 3 cards, right? And so it's sort of like a natural card to sort of like just plug into your collection as you're building. So making it sort of like more easily accessible and sort of like something that someone can like easily just sort of plug and play as they're building their collection, I think would have been a really good decision and sort of like a sign of sort of like good faith on Second Dinner's part of like sort of like, hey, we want some of these cards that like clearly synergize. I mean, there's the on the tin, like it's an Iron Patriot card. She was really important in Dark Avengers. You should play them together with also like cards that are in Series 3, right? Like Agent 13, some other Shield cards, right? That a bunch of the Shield cards, right, do this, right? That you might have in Series 3. I think that putting her sort of in that middle path between like aspirationally looking at these like really cracked Series 5 cards and looking towards your Series 3 collection, she would have been a really great place for that. I'm a little disappointed that Second Dinner didn't do that because I think that that's a really good way to sort of make these the more uncommon of the new cards to be both a little bit more friendly to new and casual players while also like it's going to get snatched up by the enfranchised players no matter what. So I think that's the main thing I'm disappointed with in this card.
Mm-hmm. The fact that still everything is 6,000 tokens, like it's getting tiring. I know it's not going to change, but it's still just frustrating.
I am still scrolling for the last time. I'm back at Aranya already for the last time they released cards that go together in a spotlight. So that's this summer.
Wow.
Or I guess that was fall technically, right? It started fall. All right.
Yeah, Spider Season was fall.
All right, what is in the spotlight cache for Victoria Hand here? Grandmaster and a very mediocre Kate Bishop alt art.
Hey,
Subjective.
No. Yeah, no, you are categorically wrong, Roy. Glazer, can we kick Roy off the podcast for that?
For what?
It's such a good variant. The variant for Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, is really good.
Oh, you don't like this?
I think it's mediocre. I think it's fine.
I love that variant. I think it's great.
Ditto.
Oh my god! Wait, why do you like it?
Way more. There's way better Kate art that they haven't put in the game yet, and this is where we are. Like, how many David Aja variants do we have?
Okay, nerd. Like,
Roy's just
like many David Aja.
I like for characters that have tons of variants. Like, I'm all about like these more like experimental, but like there's tons of both the best Marvel Snap artists and like iconic artists for Kate that just don't really have that much art in here. So like, I don't know. I don't have a lot of patience. But again, Kate's my favorite character. Like one of my that was created in the 21st century. So anyway, Grandmaster and also Victoria Hand.
But I really like it. Like I think it's dynamic. It looks really great animated. It's got the big like background, so if you do any cool like stuff with it, I think it looks really good. I am pro. Oh my god, I'm back to Ajax, and we still don't have another week where they synergize. By the way, I love this. I love this Grandmaster variant though. As good as the Cape variant is, Grandmaster is the variant of the week, and this Victoria Hand is absolutely terrible. I own it, but it's absolutely terrible.
Yes. Is this artist in like every snap? I feel like this artist has a bunch this month. The Victoria Hand artist. Is it the same person as
Pandart, isn't it?
What?
Isn't it Pandart?
Is that Pandart? It's a little.
I thought all the spotlights were Pandart this year because I'm pretty sure there's Bullseye Pandart coming out, which looks pretty dope, and the Moonstone Pandart is. Sick.
I got a hot take. I don't think Pandart is that good. I think most of their stuff is mid at best.
That's an extremely hot take.
I know.
Right. I think
I'm closer to you there, Nick. I think it's hit or miss. Like when Pandart is like on, you're like, yeah, but then the median one is much closer to this Victoria Hand.
When Agent Venom, Anti-Venom, those are excellent, like absolutely excellent. Even like the Brood is great, but some of them I'm just like, eh.
If there's a card or a variant with animation in it, the Pandarts go very hard. I feel like the Pandarts animate very, very well, and that's more of what I want to see from a digital card game. Like, give us more animation.
Yeah.
And
Y'all, have you seen the Jeff variant that they have? Holy crap, it's so freaking cute. Okay, this is I may have changed my mind about them. That's a really great Jeff variant.
I think Pandor's got a lot of good stuff. But yeah, I agree. The hand is not the greatest.
No. But she doesn't have any other variant. And this coming from Glazer, who was like, I don't care about variants, a year ago. And now he's like, I can't.
That lasted like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
All right, real quick. I guess pass or open, Nick, for this week. I guess pass
This is
open or
solid.
tokens. So I guess would be the better way to do it. So
I think
pass
open
over to
is a solid. Kate Bishop was a season pass card. She's still incredibly strong. She's still one of the best 2-drops in the game. Grandmaster enables some nasty stuff with Gambit and stuff like Malekith. Like being able to toss Malekith down twice is really cool if you can't get the Gambit line. Also for just a discard. And Victoria Hand is an interesting card. Like you said, Glazer, it's a new archetype, and I'm all about that. Like, if nothing else, yeah, I think it's a very good week to open.
Yep, I completely agree. If you don't have Grandmaster, one of the most flexible 2-drops in the game right now, even outside of discard, just a lot of fun to play with too. Being able to re-trigger something for only 2 energy can go a long, long way. And Kate, like you said, one of the best 2-drops in the game. So yeah, if you're missing one of those cards, definitely worth it, I would say.
Okay. So I love Kate. If you already own Kate, I think it's really hard to decide whether to open or not. I think if you own Kate, the question ultimately becomes, do you like those that low to the ground Havoc deck that's been around lately? If the answer to that question is yes, then I think you open, because I think the best Victoria Hand decks are going to play sort of similarly to that. Or if you really like Wiccan decks, then you can go there because there's some cool Victoria Hand Wiccan stuff. But if you don't own Kate, I think it's an easy open. I think owning Kate Bishop makes deck building easier. The card is just really good. Also, when all those arrows have +2 strength, they're so much better. Like the grapple arrow is a 5, and the others is 6s is like legit power.
Well, and I saw one of the safety posted that he ended up getting infinite with one of the games, and he had an acid arrow on his side, but because he had Victoria Hand, it was just a 0. So I mean, that's a win right there.
Yeah. I've been hit with a couple goblins that are -1. I'm like, all right, I guess this is annoying. Like it took a space. But
Could be worse.
Yeah. Barry, did you say you're open? Yeah, right? You're an open?
I agree with you. If you don't, I was just looking at the whole week as a whole. Most players, if you did buy the season pass, you'll have Kate. It's less appealing for sure. I mean, I haven't opened, but I also have Grandmaster and Kate, so I'm just waiting for the patch to take effect. But yeah, if you don't have Kate, no brainer. Great card.
Yeah. Let's actually say that for anyone who's parachuting in for the podcast.
Yes.
If you are able to get online Tuesday, and this is going to be like complicated, you're going to have to like pay attention to Marvel Snap. After the patch, but before daily reset. When the patch happens, the duplicate protection in the spotlight caches is going to become 2,000 tokens instead of 1,000, which it is right now. So if you can wait, please do so, because 2,000 tokens is twice as much as 1,000.
It is a lot more.
That's why they pay the big bucks, Glazer.
Would anybody consider like Kate Bishop to be kind of the Nico for 2 costs, just as far as a universal?
Yeah. That's Roy's other favorite card.
Favorite card. And also one of my favorite characters created in the 21st century. So
yeah,
there you go.
All right,
all right, let's move on to Moonstone, another Dark Adventure / Thunderbolts character. Moonstone is a 4/6 Series 5 6K tokens card coming out on the 14th. All right, ongoing. Has the ongoing effects of your 1, 2, and 3 cost cards here. Nick, what is this? Wong meets Living Tribunal meets Onslaught card that we have here.
Well, she does. That's the thing, is she doesn't work with Wong, but she would work if you really wanted to get greedy. You played Wong, then Mystique, and then Moonstone. I mean, that solves a problem.
But
exactly.
Where would you go? Because all those your lane is full.
No, you have one spot.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess
it's just gonna. Yeah.
It's just you can't Odin it or anything. Then you play Absorbing Man in another lane. You get that one last trigger.
But I
don't do that.
I'm torn on this one. The cost and the benefit I think can be good, but I don't know if it was you talking about it or if it was Gregor talking about it today. You're going to want to potentially Mystique in her lane and do something there. Like, you want to play a blue Marvel somewhere else, a Mystique in her lane. So you can't really protect her with Cosmo, but then at the same time, she's over the Red Guardian target. Like, there's interesting stuff that can happen. And maybe maybe this is where Cap comes back in and is at least moderately playable card, at least something that isn't just a complete joke. That's a good point too, Toxic Soul King. She does make Mr. Fantastic. I mean, she takes Mr. Fantastic up to Miss Marvel levels almost, doesn't she? -1 without any of the extra.
It's the exact. Well, yeah, it's -1 in each lane.
You get an extra
but then
2
plus,
power, yeah.
But then you get the more power in the middle lane, right?
Right.
Ideally, in the middle lane.
Yeah.
I'd also just like to note that Nick cannot tell me and Gregor apart. Gregor, who is young, muscular, and has green fucking hair. I can see how you got us confused. We have a lot in common.
I've done it before. It happens to everybody.
Hey, I'm sick. All right, I'm sick. I am barely alive right now. Apparently.
You might be doing a different podcast.
It's true.
But you brought up Captain America, which means I have to talk about it because that's my guy. And yes, that is definitely a card I'll be trying out with Moonstone. I think we'll get a little bit better next season with Sam Wilson Captain America, and maybe there's some sort of new ongoing deck that can come out of that. Please, I hope. I just want Cap to be playable. That's all I want. I just want him to be a good, playable card. Doesn't have to be broken, doesn't have to be top tier. Just make him playable, just like Iron Man and Thor and Hulk. They all have their decks. Why can't Cap have one? That's all. But I do think this card, I think it was Gregor, because I remember seeing a post of his that had all the beneficial ongoing cards that Moonstone would take on, and it's not great. The deck design would seem to be pretty limited, but maybe she is just, in a little extra boost to a Spectrum deck or a Tribunal deck. Just a little bit. She doesn't take it over the top, but maybe it makes those decks a little more reliable, similarly to how Scorn has taken discard, up a notch. It doesn't totally redefine the deck, but it just makes it a little bit better and more consistent. Maybe. We'll see.
I'm curious if she's great in Victoria hand decks. Because, you can just throw a speed in there, or Mr. Fantastic, Captain America, whatever, one of those cards, right? But they are already running Quinjet and Victoria Hand. And -2 to all your cards is, I don't know, a lot, right? We've seen what people do with the Sarah Onslaught combo, right? This is like a mini Sarah Onslaught combo for your duplicated cards. You can do that and then Moon Girl and just be like, my hand is basically free, kiss my ass, right? And if you've got any Victoria Hand there, I don't know, that feels like a win. I think there's something there.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she's made for Captain America, for Sam Wilson Captain America to go with regular Captain America. But I think they might have, knowing secondary, I think they might have overlooked Quinjet as a thing that works with Victoria Hand. And if they did overlook Quinjet as a thing that works with Victoria Hand, that's her path to being a meta card. I wish we could know that before Victoria Hand was gone.
Yeah.
But, if you can go Quinjet, Victoria Hand, Coulson somewhere else, right? And then you've just got a 4 that costs 2 and a 5 that costs 3, and now all of a sudden it's just what do I care about your stupid Iron Patriot, right? Let's go, beat me. I think that there's some real potential here. I think that's like that and Cap are the only homes. I don't think anything else really wants this. Maybe because Cerebro 6 isn't a thing. So maybe a Patriot deck would be fine with this, but I don't think this is replacing Iron Lad in those decks or Absorb Men in those decks. So I don't know if it's going to have a real home there. So my guess is that this is a Victoria Hand / Sam Wilson card, which means it's fundamentally impossible to evaluate it until we see how it goes with those cards. I'm very excited for Quinjet, Moonstone, Moon Girl. I think that combination is going to be utterly insane.
Yeah. There could be something there. I'm trying to see if there's some sort of weird discard list I could throw her in. Morbius, Mystique, Moonstone, and just Giga discard.
I mean, you just want to put everything in discard.
That's me.
Look, it's not bad. You go more Mystique, right? You run Victoria Hand in that version of it. You just have to find a couple of extra hand generator cards, because I think the problem with the discard list for Victoria Hand, that's why I haven't liked it, is because there's only 2 payoffs. And if you don't see one of those, like, you have to not only see those 2 payoffs, you have to get the exact right discard for those 2 payoffs, largely because like Swarm just isn't better than Scorn in discard lists. And that makes Colleen a much tougher ask. Although
we
And
maybe
you're losing
there's
the board space, especially if you're running Dracula. You're losing that board space if you want to try and beef up Dracula too.
Yeah. Well, I do think, and we're going to get into this with the next card coming out, which is, I think, the next card in line. But I think that we're going to have to start envisioning a world of Dracula-less discard. But we'll get into that in the next card.
Ooh.
Oh, baby.
Well, I'm going to shit on that card, so skip
I
it.
will say that I love cards like Moonstone because I think it just like asks you to do some really interesting things and has the potential to sort of break in some really cool like ways. And I think pushing the ongoing space is also something that I think that they really should do as well. I think like on reveal is always getting a lot of love. Like I think sort of like asking decks to build around ongoing again and maybe making Spectrum, which is one of my favorite cards, maybe a little bit better, is always something I'm up for. I love Spectrum decks. So I think this card is really cool. I think it immediately asks you to do something, and it's like one of my favorite types of cards in card games is every time an ongoing 1, 2, 3 cost is printed, you have to ask yourself, is Moonstone broken now? Right? And that's like super fun experimenting for both like casual and serious and high elo players. So I'm really excited to see Moonstone brews and what they're like, and whether that will get me to do the next thing, Aaron, which is whether I should I should spend tokens or ignore. I'm gonna say again, this Nocturne is ugly. Can we at least all
sinfully ugly? One of the worst variants in the game.
Like it is.
Look, the Black Swan is horrifying.
Black Swan is horrifying, but Black Swan is kind of horrifying as a character. So, like, she's one of Thanos's, heralds or whatever they're called.
Black Order,
whatever, knockoff heralds or whatever they are. So, like, her being horrifying, I think that's also Alex Maleev, isn't it? And, like, his art is always a little kind of horrifying.
It's Seth Adams that's doing
Seth
this
Adams.
one.
Okay, it's Seth Adams for that one. And so, I don't know, it fits for that character. But the Nocturne is just like 2006, like,
wow,
live journal fan art. So, anyway.
It looks like your OC World of Warcraft Night Elf character 100%. In a fan fiction or something.
Yeah. It really does.
And it's a shame because she's got like no good variants.
What, Black Swan?
No, Nocturne. I'm sorry. We're talking about Nocturne.
It's a Dan Hip card.
Well, yeah, okay.
For those who aren't huge hip
for
enjoyers.
So.
For those who aren't huge hip enjoyers, there aren't many Nocturne options, unfortunately.
I mean, Perry, you do realize we are doing a Dan Hip tier list with Gregor, so
I'm not hating on Dan Hip. I'm just saying there are people who want other options than Dan Hip.
This is fair.
I think at this point, though, like, a hip is just like a better basic art. I don't mean that in like a mean way towards. There's just so many hips that they're not special anymore. There's just like, oh, I have the Dan Hip for this. I'm going to play that because it's almost certainly better than the base art. So it's like the default variant, I think. So like, there's not that many next level variants, I guess, for Nocturne at this point.
The one that's coming out in the bundle next month is, I think, really good. I think that one is an exceptionally good variant for her. That's the one that's by Jim Calfiore. Calfiore? I don't know.
I'll have to say it.
I think that one's good, but I think it's a stupid expensive bundle. So,
well, maybe it's so good that's why it's super expensive. All right, real quick, Nick. Pass, open, or tokens?
I think considering the fact that we haven't seen Nocturne or Black Swan make much of an impact in the last little while, I don't think that they're bad cards. I still think it's funny that Nocturne at one point was one of the best 3-drops in the game, and now
the best card in the game.
Yeah, and now she's like, I don't know what exactly has changed to make her on the cutting room floor on every single deck, other than better cards. But Black Swan isn't super relevant, but may for that next week when you've got something like Bullseye and you're playing those But even then, I don't know. I think this is a tokens if you've got it for Moonstone. If you're going to get Moonstone at all, this is potentially this is a very wait and see week. I think wait until the Monday when Glazer has a final review and make a decision at that point. But if you've got Black Swan and Nocturne and you really want Moonstone, just spend the tokens if you've got them. Don't gamble a key.
I agree, but we mentioned the two bad variants, but we're not talking about the great Moonstone variant here. That is going to go so hard animated, and that's what I was talking about with the Pandarts. I think that is a fantastic Moonstone variant, and I kind of want to pull just for that variant. I don't have a Nocturne variant yet, so I wouldn't mind having one, but again, Night Elf fanfic art not really doing it for me. Yeah, I'll probably just be using tokens if I can control myself and not get that Moonstone variant.
So, all right. Next month we have at least one really, really great bounce card coming in Red Wing. And if you want to get Red Wing and you want to play bounce, then you're going to need Black Swan. Like, Red Wing is insanely good. Red Wing's a 1/2 that bounces a 1-cost card at this location back to your hand and gives it +2 power. That's crazy strong because that synergizes with both Beast Toxin and Falcon while also synergizing with Black Swan. Like, it's just, that's a lot of good things in one card. It gives you fundamentally infinite bounce. You could be bouncing something every turn, which also makes your cards like Bishop significantly better. It might get Sasquatch back in the deck, etc., etc. But you do need Black Swan for that list. So if you have any interest in playing, you need Black Swan. The other people that really need Black Swan are early Series 3 players. I spend a lot of time making decks for Series 3 players. If you have Dracula and Black Swan, you have a deck.
Yep.
You have a Dracula dump deck. That's really, like, shockingly competitive.
Very good deck.
It's a really, like, yeah, it's almost all Series 2 and 3 stuff, right? Like, it's just a really effective, powerful deck. And all you really need are Black Swan and Dracula. So, like, I don't know. Like, I think that Black Swan is a really good open for a lot of people. And, like, Nick glossed over why Nocturne's not being played. Nocturne's not being played because she's a 3/4. I can pay 1/3 of her cost and play Hydra Bob. Why would I ever play Nocturne?
I think she lost a lot of utility, too, with Clog being less relevant. Like, Clog was definitely something she helped out a lot, being able to have that movement option to keep your lanes, more flexible. And with Clog not being too powerful again, and yeah, the 3-cost slot has got to be the most competitive in the entire game, right? Like, there are so many good 3-cost cards.
So not only is it competitive, it's really hard to run a 3/5 that doesn't, like, auto win you games, and a 3/4 that can auto lose you games is no longer worth the gamble, right? Like, I paid 1/3 of the energy to beat this in a lane, and when you changed lanes, you had to roll dice. Is a big ask. When it was 5, at least I was tying that kind of card, right? Like, I wasn't immediately losing. That change is a huge difference. I think Nocturne is largely junk right now. I keep wanting to put her in things because my least favorite thing to lose to in the world is Magic. I hate losing to Magic decks. Like, absolutely just despise it. I don't know why, but, like, losing to Magic annoys me. It's like, you couldn't fucking jerk lucky bullshit, right? Like, you're just hoping that people aren't running, like, one of the 18 cards that beats you. So I always want to put it in decks, but, like, it's just, you play it in the lane and then it's just not enough power and it feels really bad. One trigger off Rocket and Groot is more power, and Rocket and Groot, once they fix the cable bug, has no downside. So, like,
do you mean Luke Cage bug?
Yeah, Luke Cage. Thank you. Sorry.
I think also, though, Magic was meta when Nocturne was, like, on top of the world, right? And I think she rises and falls with Magic, right? I think she was also subsidized by that additional point. I think you're 100% right, but I think emphasizing, like, if Magic goes and becomes, like, a meta strategy again, I think Nocturne does become one of the better answers, right? Particularly another card that she doesn't like is Legion. Like, Legion was also very meta, right? When Nocturne was on top of the world, right? I think when those kind of strategies are really powerful, Nocturne is powerful. But when it's not, without that additional power to, again, as you said, have good exchanges with cards like Hydra Bob and other powerful, 2/4, like a 2/4 even embarrasses Nocturne, right? Like you paid, 1/3 or 2/3 of her cost, right? Rather than 1/3, and you still have the same strength, right? Like so many cards embarrass her on a strength level. So she needs specifically to be countering what your opponent does. And countering what your opponent does with her is really not what you need to be doing. So she's just not a good tech card right now.
She was also.
I mean, you've got a 3/3 Red Guardian, and it's hard to say, I want to put Nocturne in over a card that could, if nothing else, kill, even if they've got Luke Cage, it kills that ability still. Nocturne can't compete with that.
And then cards like Rocket and Groot and Doom 2099 make it worse, right? Because a lot of its utility was, I have a way to get into a lane that would otherwise be a problem for me. But like now other decks are doing that more efficiently. And you're like, well, I got 4 power there. And then if they read that, they can now play in that lane too, versus I just got 5 power there, 4 or 5 power there. Good luck, right? Like, it's just, it's a card that's in a bad position. I doubt it'll ever be good again, to be perfectly honest, unless they like, honestly, I'm not even sure making it a 3/5 would be enough anymore.
No.
I think they'll get around to making her a 3/5 again for a while and see what happens.
I just think like Copycat is, and I don't play a lot of Copycat because I hate the card. Much the same way I don't like Iron Patriot. I think Copycat is genuinely a broken card. Like in that you can never play around it, right? Like there's no way to know your opponent's running it unless you already know your opponent's deck. And so like I've lost 1 million cubes to my opponent stealing my fucking Luke Cage. Like you just have no way of knowing it. Tuccrr did it to me like twice. It was like there's no fucking way he has my Luke Cage again, and that's the only thing that could beat me.
Sure enough.
I mean, look, Second Dinner hired a new balance designer, so
did they?
Yeah, Michael Majors from Wizards. Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
And so we'll see. There could be a new balance attitudes over time. So
this week isn't open if you're interested in what Black Swan offers, and if you're not interested in what Black Swan offers, you're gonna have to wait to see how good Moonstone is for the whole week.
We will also need to see how good everyone's favorite Daredevil villain is. Bullseye is finally making his return.
Not very good.
I mean, first off, Elektra's not.
Kingpin. Got it.
But Kingpin is also a Spider-Man villain. So,
True.
Elektra is an anti-hero, and Bullseye is just Bullseye. All right, so Bullseye is a 3/3. What do you get for your 3 energy besides the 6k having to spend 6k tokens? You get to activate. Oh baby, here we go. Discard all cards that cost 1 or less from your hand. Afflict that many different, very important, different enemy cards with -2 power. Perry, thoughts on the murderer of Karen Page? Spoilers, by the way, for the comics from 20 years ago.
Big time spoilers.
No, excuse me. Isn't that 40 years ago?
No, Karen died in the Kevin Smith run, man.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Who did you kill? Whatever.
I'm always excited for a new discard toy.
Elektra the first time.
I'm always excited for a new discard toy, so of course I'm ready for Bullseye. I do think this will force us discard players to go outside of our comfort zone a little bit, and I think the same way you saw cards like Agent Venom and Angela and Thena start to make these very small ball focused decks where you pretty much don't have any cards above 3 cost, I think we could see something similar here with Bullseye, where you have a lot of these lower cost cards in a discard list and your scalers. You have Meek, who is still a card in discard, and I think he does get some value with these kinds of builds.
Then you can discard him, and then he's useful.
Right. When you draw him late, that is something to keep in mind. You know, that is an extra -2 power and another discard. Morbius, of course. Collector. You have Dakin that works well with this. The 1 cost shard. Poor Dakin could get a little bit of love here.
Does Dakin work well with this? Because there's this other card that's in Series 4 called Gladiator, and I don't have to do work for that.
Correct, but there are people out there that just like playing Dakin sometimes, you know.
Hey, and you still get value from the Bullseye if you discard the 1 cost, even if Dakin's dead. So there you go.
Exactly. You get the plus power on Dakin, you get -2 on an enemy card. So that's good. Another trigger for your discard. Again, could be something with Mystique in there. And all of your discard cards are generally 3 cost. Your Lady Sif, your Moon Knight, your Gambit, your Swordmaster even. So there are options for, I think, a small bowl discard list, and that's kind of what I'm going to be trying when Bullseye releases. So I'm excited as a discard enjoyer. Outside of discard, I don't think he's going to be too useful. I don't think there's going to be... Maybe there are some afflict decks out there that he works in that you don't need to build a whole lot of discarding around. Like, maybe he'll just go in some of those decks, but I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, I do not see him fitting outside of discard. Also, whenever I think of Bullseye the character, because I was never a Daredevil fan as a kid, all I can think of is Colin Farrell from the terrible Daredevil movie in the 90s. That's all I can picture is his dumb face with that. Anyway, I think for discard, I think it's Scorn doesn't work outside of discard, and Scorn is a phenomenal card. I think, playing this on, a turn, say you don't get Dracula, or you're not running a Dracula deck, you play this, then you activate it after you play MODOK and you've got swarms in your hand. I mean, that's a big hit at the end of the game when generally the opponent's going to have that many cards already out on the field, I would think.
Isn't that just -4? Because you played MODOK, so all of your other discards are gone except Swarm and maybe
all your swarms. But say you've got 10 swarms in your hand, or not. Swarms. Say you've got a lot of swarms in your hand.
Yeah, sure, okay. Magical fairylands are fun, I guess. That's what the Dokkan players like anyway.
Whoa!
One Colleen or Blade hit on a swarm is very common earlier than the end of the game when you'd be discarding all of them.
You'll good to have a lot of swarms in your hand? Frequently not. But it is a thing you can do. Like, it is not that hard.
Yes, but then you're not running better cards, right?
Well,
like, because
that's a different question.
What makes this deck work, at least like if it's the way it should work, is once more going to be Scorn, right? Because that's how you actually have enough power on these fucking cards to do anything.
Well,
and if you're discarding, okay, so but when are you triggering Bullseye so that you can play Victoria Hand if you actually want to win any fucking cubes?
I think Bullseye is an end where you have to play.
Yeah. Like I said, he's a turn 5 activate when you play MODOK.
But if you activate him on turn 5, how are you ever winning more than 2 cubes unless your opponent can beat you?
What about my Proxima Midnight that I got off of Iron Patriot? It's a 0-cost Proxima Midnight. It comes into play.
This card is like the copiest card that's ever coped.
I am determined to prove Glazer wrong now. I'm going to get back into my content game. I'm going to make the best Bullseye deck. I just want to prove him wrong.
Literally, there's this little... there's this one card I'm going to play that's just going to say your Bullseye is a dead card. Thank you for playing a 3/3. My 3/3 turns off your deck.
Yeah, that card can go to hell.
So
that card... Oh, yeah.
I actually just had this conversation with Husky right before we streamed. And the game is built around release valve cards, right? Like they design cards based around the release valves they have, and Luke is at least to me, quickly approaching Shang as one of the most important release valves in the game, where it's just he is so pivotal in so many different situations for so many different decks that I think that people just start throwing fucking Luke in the same way they just throw Red Guardian in. And we remember when Luke was just indexed because there's all these negative locations and you were just fine with it. You just do that. And then you bless whoever that was. And then you run an anti-venom, right?
Glazer says bless you.
So you just run an anti-venom and you're now I have a combo. That's great. I just get I get an extra 0-cost card. And now your entire deck is off. Your deck does absolutely nothing. What do you do? And you can say the same thing about the Ajax decks, right? But that's why the Ajax decks can never really be the best deck in the game, because whenever they get too prevalent, people are just well, the mirror, we both run Luke, and it's just who the fuck saw Luke. And then anyone else who just knows that this is such a prevalent deck, which it can't be, again, because of this card's existence, does that. So what do we do when if this is any good, Luke becomes super prevalent? And this deck doesn't run Luke, so you run this, I'll run Ajax, you tell me how that goes.
You can't Red Guardian everything either, though.
Yeah.
And if you're going to waste a Red Guardian, if you're gonna waste a Red Guardian on Bullseye compared to
don't
something
think
like
Luke.
Morbius, or that's not just Luke, because you are getting the discards too. You're discounting that fact. You could empty effectively your whole hand with this card if you have the deck for it, and you're going to be boosting your scalers in Morbius and Collector and Meek, and that's where you're getting that additional power from. If you go for a final turn MODOK, I mean, yeah, the activate is just in a tough spot right now, I think, in general. And they're aware of that, too. There have been activate released in the Spider season back in September, and we have 9 activate cards in the game.
Yeah.
That's
and every
crazy.
time someone says activate, I hear that stupid siren from the developer video. It's stuck in my brain. Every time someone says activate, it drives me crazy. Why did they do that?
Some of the activate cards work. Like Black Swan and Aranya both work really, really well as activate.
Yes.
They've missed an awful... Oh, and Lasher is pretty cool. But they've missed an awful lot more than they fit with that keyword, and they seem to have no interest in it. It hit the board and they were like, "Oh, that's not fun." And next.
Yep. We're just going to ignore that and continue making on reveal and ongoing cards, and we'll throw you a free one and King Eitri and Lasher every now and then, and here's activate.
Well, yeah, Lasher ended up way better than I thought he'd be.
Again, there's Luke Cage, Glazer. They just play Luke Cage, and then Lasher doesn't do anything. You have to draw Luke Cage as well. Not everyone is going to draw Luke Cage. Plus, there's also Red Guardian and Rogue.
retreating for 2. What are we doing here?
Oh my god,
that could be said for anything.
Draw Luke, and then Lasher is again a real Lasher is a 1 card, not a deck, right? If my Lasher doesn't work, my deck didn't stop working. I still had an 8 power card on the board, right? That. Generally speaking, around how big I get a Lasher, 5 power card on the board, perfectly fine. I just played a 3/3. We just talked about how bad a 3/4 is right now. If this is a 3/15, then amazing, right? I
think he's going to get that value
your opponent
sometimes.
Goes tall, not wide.
I think he's going to get that value sometimes, and I think you're discounting how these scalers work in Discard. Even if you do play him in a Dracula list. Again, Red Guardian, what are you hitting? Are you hitting Bullseye? Are you hitting Morbius? Are you hitting Dracula? You can only hit 1 card, so you have those backup plans, especially if you do go smaller scalers. 1 discard, you're getting 2 on Morbius. Depending on what it hits, you're getting 1 or 2 on Collector. You're getting 1 on Meek. That's just 1 card being discarded, and you have an additional way to do it with Bullseye. That is reliable, He's on the board. If he's not Red Guardian, you're going to get it off. You don't have to worry about Cosmo or anything like that. Eliath, it's just going to happen. So I think having him as that additional option just gives you more flexibility when crafting with this card.
The question that I have, though, is who does he replace?
Gambit. This guy, this is just literally fixed Gambit. In the sense of, Gambit sucks because she blows your board up. At least your cards are still around. And this actually just feels more like a Gambit card to me than you know what I mean? It feels to me at this point like Gambit should have this ability. He's a hero. He's not just murking people left and right. And then Bullseye, who's an assassin, should be killing people, right? I mean, but this is in many ways a fixed Gambit in the sense that it's powerful, it's shaky, you want to discard the cards, moving cards between zones. Perry, I am also a lover of moving cards between zones in all card games. What's the point? I have cards, I want to move them up and around and all that kind of stuff. What is it going to be the level of top 89th on the Infinite Leaderboard level play? Probably not, unless the card is super cracked. I mean, I think it's also... One, the fact that it can't hit cards multiple times, which now that you can't go infinite for it is good for you, right? If you could go infinite, was it a year ago now that they did the Gambit thing where you couldn't go infinite anymore?
A while.
Yeah.
And so if you could still go infinite, I think it having the limit would be bad for you. But now that you can't go infinite, the fact that it always hits different cards makes it, I think, a little bit more interesting, and the fact it can synergize with other afflict cards. I think this is a fixed Gambit in the sense that I think it feels better to be bullseyed, but as a person who's the victim of the bullseyeing, than it does when the Gambit deck pops off and you're just don't hit the 2 most important characters on my board and I win. And if you do hit it here, there's way more play when you respond, right, to what your opponent does. So I think that the card is cool. It's flashy. I'm with Glazer in the sense that again, I don't think it's going to be top 89 Infinite Leaderboard anytime soon, but I think it's a compelling card that is well designed in that sense. Like, and I think getting into the argument about like, is it going to be the next card that's, you know, again, number one infinite? That's not what the point of this card is. Like, the point of this card is like, what cool things can we do with it and how can we maximize it? And then we've got a cool, fun tier 3 deck that may sometimes break out into the bigger, like occasionally Combo Gambit does, right? But we're not there yet.
Well, the point of this card is that Second Dinner hired ParryManilow. They put Dakin in the season pass, then they're releasing this Bullseye, and then they're doing all this stuff with Captain America and even releasing Moonstone for Captain America. Like, just admit it, Perry.
I mean, they didn't pay me 1 cent.
Avengers, right? Wasn't he Evil Wolverine in Dark Avengers?
Yeah, he's relevant to Dark Avengers as well.
There's a reason that Jeff variant is in the game, Perry.
What Jeff variant?
The bathtub.
Yes.
All right.
So, are you Second Dinner's employee of the month? Has it moved from Super Tech God and it's now you?
I'm trying to take over here.
All right, we got Bullseye, Kyera, right? That's how you say that.
Yep.
And Marvel Boy. I think this is on a variant level. I think this is a strong week. Like, I think all of these variants are strong and compelling. Let's see, Perry.
Yep.
Is this
definitely pulling for that Bullseye for sure. Anime Marvel Boy, pretty cool. And Kyera has like no variants as well, so it's nice to see her get some love here. Very zoo heavy week here, it would seem, with Kyera and Marvel Boy. I wonder if there's something there. I wonder if there's some sort of secret synergy here with some kind of crazy zoo list with Bullseye. Probably not. But
Disco Zoo.
Very strong variants.
I'll be trying. Your board up and your spare 1-drops get discarded.
Right, yeah. You'll have extras in your hand at some point. Could be worth cleaning up.
Is there a way to make... No, there's not a way to make that work. What are we even... if you run X23 and then you get that extra energy,
and 100% thinking about X23.
I mean, you know,
100%.
And then like you play Squirrel Girl and then you play Falcon. And you throw all your squirrels at them, just whipping squirrels at people. Let's go.
Sounds actually pretty cool.
That does sound kind of cool, actually. Bounce, afflict. Okay.
Bounce Bullseye.
I'll be trying stuff.
All right. Please don't do that.
Nick, what are your thoughts? Are you going to open? Are you going to spend tokens? Or are you going to pass?
The fact that David Mack has a super rare coming out for Bullseye means I'm probably going to skip this week. I've got the Flaviano Marvel Boy. I still think this is a mid Kyera variant. The fact that she doesn't have anything outside of the Spotlight variants is just sad.
No, she has one.
Does she?
I think so.
Does she have a hip?
No,
she does not have
one. I don't know if the gold. I don't think the gold one is a Spotlight. I'll check. You go.
Yeah, there's a rare one that it comes out at the end of this month. There's a rare one. Everything else is either a bundle or a Spotlight cash.
Such an
the bundle one was oof. I think if you've got it, if you like Zoo, Marvel Boy and Kyera, the Gilgazoo deck is still really powerful. It is so boring to play. Like every time there's a fill all 4 locations, that's a good deck to fill it with, but it's just so boring. It's just like, okay, I'm playing Squirrel Girl and I'm going to play this and I'm going to play Kyera. Like there's not a lot of variation. There's not a lot of there. It works, but it's not exciting. I don't know. I think Marvel Boy, I think, is still a very strong card in that archetype. If you like Zoo, Marvel Boy and Kyera are absolutely vital. It's weird that they come along with Bullseye. It seems like a weird synergy. They all technically work with 1-cost cards, but not in like the two of them are very different than Bullseye. I think if you've got Kyera Marvel Boy and you don't die for these variants, I think tokens are good. If you don't have Kyera Marvel Boy and you like Zoo, I think it might be good to go through and roll your keys if you've got them. But I don't know. I'm not 100%. This is another wait and see one because I think Bullseye is going to be either an amazing card or we're all going to be super disappointed.
So as far as opening I'm not going to be disappointed. I'm just going to brag. I'm going to come on Parry's stream and be like, ha ha, bingo, Bullseye.
I'm ready.
All right. If you want this Bullseye variant, that's fine. But there is a Bullseye variant releasing January 19th. That's the Dan Hip. Then February 16th, January 21st, January 22nd, and February 16th. So you don't have to go out of your way for this Bullseye. There's some pretty freaking good Oh, the January 21st is this one. So there's several other Bullseye variants coming out that you will not have to actually deal with this bullshit if you don't want to, as far as spotlights go. Kyra has a rare variant coming out at the end of the month. Don't open for that variant. Also, Kyra, I think, is one of the least impressive cards in the game right now. She just doesn't have a home. And then Marvel Boy is excellent, and if you want to play Zoo, you need Marvel Boy. So if you do want to play Zoo, go get Marvel Boy. If you don't want to play Zoo, I think that it's fairly easy to use tokens if you must have Bullseye because you're a Parry stan.
I command all of the Fanilows to get Bullseye and prove me right. Pump the numbers up.
There you go.
Roy, anything to add about these?
No, not at all. All right, Aries.
Last card.
It's a smaller month than last month. He is a 4/6, Series 5, 6K tokens. On reveal, compare the power of the top 3 cards of both decks. If your total is higher, +6 power. Whoa. Nick, the Greek, what do you think of this Greek god?
I think he's a Surtur card. Surtur decks are kind of on the downswing, but they still have power. I still think that there is a place for them, but I'm not on Glazer's like level to where I just hate just playing big power cards. Although I do hate playing like the Shuri style decks. I think this offers a little bit of a unique take on that Surtur style. It's kind of like that weird card. What was that card game where if your card is higher than the top card, War. There you go. Yeah. So it's basically War. Thank you, Perry. It's War, the game. For cards, I think he's going to be a strong card. But coming up as far as what else he's with, that's where things get a little bit questionable. But I think he's a strong card. Not anything super exciting. Not anything that I'm just like, ooh, I gotta have this happen.
Hey, Nick, what is Aries the god of?
War. That is okay. There you go. I
See what they were going for there? See what they were going for there?
I didn't realize you didn't get it. Okay. I thought that was what he was actually saying. That's amazing.
I don't think he was picking that up right away.
Okay. All right. I was like, yeah. No. What are we doing?
That is very cute, by the way.
That is.
Thematic, very on point. I like it. Your standard 4/12 card. Surtur, by the way, a card that helped create a new archetype, I would argue, going back to our earlier conversation. I think definitely a home there. Something that could be fun to Grandmaster, I guess. To have that go again, good for intel. If it does work that way. I don't know if we're going to get to see the cards. We have to figure that out, I guess. I didn't watch the dev video, so I don't even know. But
it does. It shows you. It doesn't show the cards, but it shows the power of each.
It shows the power, so it'll at least give you
It's a terrible dev video, though. Worst one they've ever done.
That's why I didn't watch it. I heard very bad things about it. So it at least gives you some intel in that regard. Good players will know. Okay, that's 12 power. It's probably Magneto, something like that.
It's 3 cards, so it could be like. You know what I mean?
Well, if it just shows you the total power, then?
It shows you the total power.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, less intel from that. But, yeah, fun card. Probably not worth 6,000 tokens right off the bat, but I'll pick him up because he's cool and thematic and fun.
So, serious question. I don't actually know the answer to this. What's better, Scar decks or Zoo decks?
I would have to look at the stats. I
think Zoo has better stats, but like the top Scar decks have really good. But they both have really, really good stats.
Zoo's been nerfed less than the Scar decks. Scar took a hit with the Eliath nerf, with the Typhoid Mary nerf, whereas Zoo, I feel like, has been relatively untouched.
Yeah, they buffed it more than anything.
Right.
Like I thought Marvel Boy lost to power for reasons.
Yeah, he got hit a little bit, but
I'm not sure which is better, but like. They're both similar decks, right? Like, even though one plays ones and one plays giant things, where you're just like, I put card down. Right? It would be the turn the card sideways if we were playing Magic, right? Just like, I play red. That's what these decks are. If you like that kind of thing, then fucking get Aries. That's what he does. If you don't like that kind of thing, then don't go get Aries. He's going to sit in your binder. Like, once Weekend Mission stopped, let me just tell you, Surtur is not seeing a lot of play in my collection. So, Aries will see play for weekend missions, and then I will never touch this card again. But if you like that type of deck, do you need him for that deck? No, I don't think so. I think he's better than like
It's probably one of the
Typhoid
better
Berry.
4-drops that you could have for that deck.
Right?
Better than Typhoid, better than Atuma, better than Crossbones.
So I don't think he's better than Crossbones or Cull.
No?
Because there's still going to be the fail case, right? Where you're just like, oh no, I got 0, like whatever stupid 1-drops you're running and just like whiff, right? So I don't think he's necessarily going to be better than Cull or Crossbones. But I think he's better than the other two, and like he has more upside. You can't double him should a Shuri type thing come up though, right? He'll work with Shuri's lab, but not Shuri herself. So I don't know. There's pros and cons here. I think it's a very strong card. This is the most boring card of the month for me. Like as much as I don't like Bullseye, like this go in deck, you put in deck, you go
Definitely an Unga Bunga card.
Yeah.
But it's the God of War, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Numbers go up.
That's Roy's whole take. Numbers go up.
I like it.
Go up.
Short and sweet.
All right. So we got Aries, we got Miss Marvel, and Misery. I'm just going to say Misery variants are terrible. They all look the same. How is this significantly different than the baseline? Symbiotes truly are the worst of all of the characters in Marvel.
Galactus sitting here smiling, going,
Galactus is definitely up there. Lady Galactus, as by her proper name. Thoughts on this month? Nick, are you going to spend tokens? Are you going to open? Or are you going to skip this interesting collection of cards?
I've got all the cards. I don't care about the variants. I'll be using tokens. That's all there is to it. There's other Aries variants that are coming out. I could be patient and wait. There's a super rare that's coming out the same day. Cool, I'll have a variant. I don't care. I've got the Misery in Hyuk-Lee, which is phenomenal, and I think Perry would agree. I think it's one of the better variants in the game. I think it may be up in that top echelon of really, really good variants. It gives something that I think a lot of other variants don't get. This variant, I would have, if you hadn't shown me the original release of Misery, I would have 100% assumed this was the base art for Misery. It looks no different than the damn base art card. Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing. And the Ms. Marvel variant is mid, and the Aries variant isn't all that exciting either. So I think if you're going to get Aries, then you've got the other two cards, 100% tokens. Even if you don't have the other two cards, hard sells. Misery is a good card, but I don't think she's insanely powerful. But that's just me.
Yeah, I think all of these cards are skippable if you don't already have them. They're not seeing too much play at the meta level, and weird enough, I noticed a bit of a pattern here. This week we have all 2 drops. Next week we have all 3 drops. This week we have all 4 drops in the spotlights. Just a little interesting thing that I don't feel like happens very often.
No, and they chose like the bad 3 drops and the bad 4 drops, right? Because there's ways to do all 3 and all 4 drops, right?
Oh yeah,
and have it be like, oh shit! Like if this was Malekith and
I get Iron Lad and Malekith.
Iron Lad, Malekith, yeah, or Malekith or Anti Venom and even God,
yeah, Gwenpool, something like that. Nope, Miss Marvel and Misery. Yeah, nothing great to say. Yeah, skippable.
Misery was, I remain convinced Misery was going to be good until they power crept her right the fuck out the meta. Like, they immediately after Misery were like, and here's Anti-Venom, and here's Malekith. You want to play Misery? And I was like, well, I did.
Not really.
Like, I did, like, a week ago, and then you, like, just released better cards.
Yeah. She's in an awkward spot right now. And they buffed her.
Yeah, 4/8's good. She's got better numbers than Anti-Venom, by the way, can be a 3/6 now. Thank you. But like 7's not really necessary there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Misery a lot. You shouldn't get Misery. I recommended Misery because I didn't know that Malekith and Anti-Venom were gonna fucking just literally kick her ass right out of the meta. Also, like Junk, they pretty much killed Junk out from under her. They were like, ooh, we can't have this with Junk in the meta. And then they killed her best home too, right? So like they murdered her before she had a chance to truly live. But, you know, it's Misery, so be it. Fucking whatever. I do think the card is really fun. Ms. Marvel is a dead-ass card. Like, she's so hard to use right now. Like, so hard to use. I had I keep trying to put her in things. Like, I have all these Sarah decks I tried that I think are really good, and she just doesn't fit. She's not worth the juice ain't worth the squeeze. There's too many easier ways to get that type of power now. When she was released, there was no such thing as Hydra Bob, right? So, like, 5 power handle side lane, that's so much! And now it's like, well, my Doombots are 9 power. So, like, why am I dealing with this bullshit? Like, we can revert her to be 1 card, and I think she would be really, really great, but I don't think she would be broken. And she was, like, the best stat card in the game when she was previously. This year has been a year of power. So, unless you really love Scar, this is a really great week to save tokens. Also, I don't dislike this Ms. Marvel variant. I don't need it for nothing, but I do like this Ms. Marvel variant.
Yeah. Buff Captain America made a really interesting... Oh, sorry, go ahead later.
One more variant thing. There is a good Misery variant. It's the one where the symbiote is, like, eating her head. I think that actually looks really cool.
Yeah, that's the
Inhyugly.
Yeah, okay.
But Buff Captain America made a really good point that Gwenpool is, I think, one of the only Season Pass cards that's not made it back into Spotlights, and that has no other variants other than her Season Pass variant. Like, none. Like, what has Second Dinner... of course, they haven't said anything about it, but, like, that's frustrating.
And for such a popular character with so much art, too. Like, so much creative, fun art, I feel like. They're missing a lot of opportunities with Gwenpool.
I'm mentally running through Season Pass cards this year. I think, she's the only one now that Kate's coming back. I mean, I guess, like, after Kate, they haven't come back. But that's, like, September. So that's relatively recent. But the whole first half of the year, except for Gwenpool, has come back. Although Gwenpool's literally, like, 2 months before, right? It's not like she's ages before. Gwenpool was June, I believe. Or July. No, Gwenpool was July. She was the Deadpool Wolverine season, right?
That was June, I think.
No, Deadpool Wolverine season is July, because she was Deadpool's diner.
July 9th.
Okay.
Yeah. She's the July season pass. So, yeah, she's the... Then it was Kate, who's just coming back now. So she's not, like, that far off.
She's due.
Mm-hmm.
What's also due is the final segment of each of our episodes, the variant of the week. So we've got 4 Juggernauts here who's been brought back. So we'll start over here on the left with the Juggernaut robbing a bank. Who picked Juggernaut robbing a bank?
That would be me. I think the variants, I'm not going to try pronouncing his name, especially because I'm very fastly fading. I think all of his variants are phenomenal. I think he's a great artist. Thank you. Vincenzo Riccardi or something. Anyway, it's a great variant. I think, is this one of the first times you have had 4 completely different variants from each participant? Like,
Glazer
that
didn't
doesn't
make
seem...
my correct variant. So.
Wait, I thought that's what you said.
No, it's not the one that
you sent me the tiny little picture. I thought that was it. Sorry.
No. It was the steampunk one, though. Like,
the fantasy one? Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate that one.
Well, that would be 4 separate different variants, right?
It happens.
I don't know which one Glazer thinks is mine, but we'll be here in a second.
The last one is what I think is yours.
I love his colors. I wish all of his variants weren't 1,200 gold and brand new. I would love to have all of them. I think he's one of the better artists in the game. And I think there's not a lot of great Juggernaut variants that I'm excited about or I like. This one is 10 out of 10.
I love the Jacinto. It looks amazing. It looks great animated. It looks great. I've got a gold Juggernaut with a lovely border. It's my favorite one. I bought it today. It's not great value, but it's good enough value. It's like the average value for a bundle. And as an average value bundle, I was like, I get a Jacinto? Hell yeah. Jacinto is amazing. Jacinto is probably my second favorite artist in the game after Hip. So yeah, I was all about this.
About to blow your world, Glazer. It's Jacinto.
Oh, really?
Yep.
All right. Jacinto.
Okay.
Kim Jacinto.
And then we've got the fully roided out version of, which I assume is you, Perry, then?
That's me.
Just like
I picked this
Island,
one.
Baby.
Yep.
We lifting, bruh.
I was going to pick the Jacinto, but I had a feeling someone else would pick it. I do also really enjoy Jacinto's work, but I picked this one because I think this is Tyler Kirkham as well.
Mm-hmm.
This is very reminiscent of the Marvel vs. Capcom era Juggernaut, and that is even one of the moves he does, this big slam on the ground shockwave. And if you guys know me, I'm a big fighting game head. Marvel vs. Capcom, one of my favorites, so I like art is that oh god. Inspired by the game. Art that's inspired by the game. There we go.
Berserker Barrage.
Yeah.
Cool. Glazer picked that one on the right for me.
Sorry.
It's fine. Whatever. Now let's just move on and remind our loyal listeners and loyal viewers about our guests. So, Perry, if our loyal listeners and loyal viewers were to become your loyal listeners and loyal viewers, what would they find in your content?
I am someone who likes to be a little more engaging and interactive with my fans. I like to try and get them involved, whether that is through my Marvel Snap Bingo that I host every Monday evening on Twitch, or things like this most recent challenge I did, where I put a bunch of cards on Twitter and had people vote on which card should make it into the deck and then play games with the deck. A bunch of creative stuff like that. I try and do different challenges, and I'm also trying to branch out into some other games outside of Snap as well. So if you guys give me a follow, that's what you could expect. And thank you for having me. Had a great time.
Perry, you've heard Drake say he came from the bottom, now he's here.
Mm-hmm.
So Perry killed Drake, murdered him, and said, I came from Staten Island, now I'm here. I came from the dump, now I'm here. So he killed Pete Davidson, he killed Drake.
Wow.
So he's just like straight murdering some of the worst celebrities we have.
I even rapped with Kendrick.
There you go. Which
There we go.
ultimately suggests that ParryManilow is the hero we've all needed our whole lives.
Sure.
He's keeping Bingo alive. It's better than Jeopardy. He's
Bingo's
the
better.
game show face of America. Follow ParryManilow. You will not regret it. Do the right thing.
Thank you.
So much going on there. I'm just gonna turn the page.
I broke
So
right.
Nick the Greek Geek. If our loyal listeners would become your loyal viewers, what would they find in your content now?
They'd find someone who somehow ends up in usually the top 1K of Infinite. I don't know how. Honestly, I sometimes
Cold
look at the way I
medicine.
play and I'm like, how did I? There you go. I try and have fun in chat. I try and engage with the people that are there when I do stream. I do miss streaming, and I have been aiming to get back to it. I've also been enjoying kind of the behind the scenes stuff, doing editing and doing podcasts. So it's tough to try and balance all of that. There's only but so much time in the day, but I think you'd have fun. But honestly, if you had to choose between me and Perry, please pick Perry. And I'll never forget my introduction to Perry was I was in Alexander Kochia's chat. And we have the moment. It's actually on Perry's YouTube channel. And I see my name up there. I was complaining about Eliath or something, and he raided into Perry. And that was the start. And it just went from there. And I've never looked back. But
What a night.
come visit me. I record a podcast sometimes with Joe from Snap Decisions, Two Dude Snapping. That is going to be back on very soon. And you'll find me in pretty much everybody's chat. I'm a mod in everyone's chat. I think I've surpassed Lufku at this point with the most mod swords.
Not Brady, though.
No.
All three
No
of
one
them
can
are
surpass
mods
Brady.
here on my channel. So, although honestly, as long as you're a content creator and ask, we'll probably let you be a mod. Okay. So Nick has made this stream like technologically viable, insofar as it is technologically viable. I keep trying to break everything, like basically every chance I get. But insofar as this is a technologically viable stream, that is thanks to Nick. If you listen to Marvel Snap podcasts, like 70% of them feel like they're edited by Nick. He is genuinely incredibly warm and incredibly giving all the time. One of the true heroes of the Marvel Snap community, and I say that without any sarcasm or facetiousness. He genuinely helps make this community go in ways that outside of content creators, most people don't really know. And like showing love and support to somebody who does so much for so many, while also making great content when he's not hopped up on cold medicine, and winning more games of Marvel Snap than he has any right to, because he do love some jank. The most recent deck I featured of his was a ridiculous mill deck, but he wins. He plays really well. He's really brilliant. And this is the last time I'm ever going to be nice to him, so you should definitely follow him now.
He deserves
Thank
it,
you,
please.
Glazer. That meant a lot.
Absolutely.
I can second that as well. Nick's a
All
great
right,
guy.
now we begin my favorite segment each and every week, where Glazer is going to read off all of our patrons and as few breaths as possible. Let's see how many it takes this week.
Thank you to Epically symmetric number neighbor regardless of with military casual dent on LAB, FaThorNewman, Good Dog Gamer, I am Frostman, Inc., Jane Everett, Yola Potato, Thinking Poker, Prime Brian, Ryan Burke, Ryan Wood, Caretix Lee, Quarry, Kazushi, Archangel 3K, Pyro Frost, The Goat Seeker, Hollow, Quid Pro Joe, Snap Decisions, Joe Fat, Nick, Mr. Kerfuffle, Cable, Ginger Prime, Philip Brago, Chaplo, King of the James Zone, Rob Silverman, The Bizza, Black Jeebus 23, Extra V and Skippy G, Rhyming Friends, Jessica Gamble, Tommy Nykus, King of Bros, Great Gazoo, Werewolf, Kevsy Hoda, Ludacris, Corwin, John Q, Jim McHugh, Climb, Colonel Forbin, Hi Forbin, I see you there, Yist Out, 8th Sage, Synth, Models Not Supreme, Green Goblin, Unibot, who rocks, Flan, Steven, Brian Kaufman, Tristan H. Martin, Jason B, Only Fox, The Fuzzle Specialist, Hoot, Matt H, GG, Mike Hedging, No Flex, Oculars, Mr. Greg Sterry, BG, Zodrex, King of Canada, Deadman Falcon, Jonesy, Two Ties, The Great Lord as the Pirate King Tuccrr, and of course, Gunny T, where the T stands for Roy's gonna take us home.
All right, friends. This brings us to the end of another episode of Snap Judgments. I want to thank our very special guests. Perry, thank you so much for joining us again. It was very wonderful to have you on the show, and you're always welcome back.
Of course, thank you guys. I love being on here. Again, appreciate the love. Much love from New York/New Jersey.
That is kind of what Staten Island is, so there we go. All right.
I'm not there anymore. I'm not.
All right.
Gone.
All right. So, Nick, not the Staten Island part. I extend the welcome and thanks for you being on the show.
Thank you.
Nick, thank you so much for being on.
Happy to be here. I'm going to go immediately have the banana split that my daughter just brought home for me and then pass the hell out because I think my fever's back up. So I'm going to go sleep now. But I'm really glad I was able to come on, especially with Perry, one of my favorite people on this platform and maybe in the whole world too.
Aw, you're so sweet.
Speaking of favorite people in the world, Glazer, you are one of my favorite people in the world, and it is a pleasure to be able to do this show with you almost each and every week.
Peace and love, everybody. Also, sorry, if
Go
you
ahead.
are listening on a podcatcher, just so you know, if you're on the
There we go.
YouTube, you're just going to get a video every day because I'm insane. But if you're listening on a podcatcher, next week's podcast will be a couple days late. Just be patient. It'll come, I promise.
Yes, I will not be here next week either. I have a work trip, so I will not be returning until the eve of the brave new world that we will all be entering on January 20th. So until
That's going to be a drinking episode.
Weeks for all my friends. Stay safe, make good choices, and keep on snapping.